can give a big Chicago welcome to Donald Trump. Thank you very much.
For Trump, the road to great wealth has a few simple rules.
Be passionate. Think big. Go against the tide. Don't be afraid. Always have a prenuptial agreement.
Donald Trump epitomizes the American dream of being rich and successful, but amassing enormous amounts of private wealth is not every country's ideal. Imagine a place where hardly anyone is homeless or hungry, where health care is practically free, and where each worker gets 5 weeks of paid vacation every year. Sound like heaven?
Welcome to Norway!
For the last 2 years in a row, the United Nations has rated Norway the best place to live in the world. What does it take to be number one? Low crime, clean streets, and lots of money.
Nowadays, of course, we have this big challenge that we make so much money we can't spend it all. Like 300 billion kroner, which is a lot of money, that's our annual surplus.
Thanks to revenues from North Sea oil production, Norway actually has a surplus of over 400 billion kroner, or 60 billion US dollars. It's one of the richest countries in the world, and one of the most socially responsible.
We've not want to brag too much about it, and we're sort of saving for a rainy day. Don't use it all up, don't spend it on silly things.
Ingebrigt Steen Jensen is a founder of Dynamo, an advertising and media company in Oslo.
Good societies and good businesses are built by people who share wealth instead of people who sort of grab it and keep it to themselves. And this company that I work in is based on that concept also.
Norway has enough money to take care of all of its citizens' health and welfare. So companies like Dynamo are free to focus less on the paycheck and more on the quality of life.
We don't want people to work long hours. The ideal is for people to do good work during 8 hours and go home and do something else. You need all kinds of things in your life to be a good professional also. If you're just working, I think you end up as an idiot. Charlie is here, but no one else is.
It's only 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but everyone at Dynamo has gone home.
It's important that they take their kids to the football training or go home and make love in the afternoon with the wife. And in the long run, that's maybe the way to produce good work.
This is our modern politics. This is replying, I think, in a very wealthy country, of course, to the values that people think are important.
Today, Norwegians can afford to be relaxed about working. But Norway's attitudes toward wealth were formed long before any oil was discovered.
It's the old Norwegian culture. It's in our genes. You shouldn't pretend to be more than your neighbor and don't stick out. It's the opposite of the American society, actually.
Despite cultural differences, both Norway and the United States have an extremely high standard of living. But what is wealth in one of the world's poorest countries?
3,000 miles due south of Norway, at the edge of the Sahara Desert, lives a nomadic culture whose concept of wealth has remained unchanged for centuries. This is Niger, home of the Wodaabe nomads, who have no use for fancy cars, beautiful mansions, and other Western symbols of wealth. Niger is a land of extreme poverty. In fact, the same branch of the United Nations, which rates Norway one of the richest countries in the world, has ranked Niger one of the poorest.
63% of the population lives under the poverty line. The average lifespan is 48 years old. There is access to educational facilities rate of 30% of the population. There's a very high infant mortality rate.
In spite of statistics, the nomads of Niger live in a world rich in tradition and culture. Here, in one of the most remote parts of Africa, wealth exists in basic elements: water, food, fire, and cattle.
Before understanding what are the people, you have to know the special link they have with the cattle.
Dr. Salamatu Sow has been studying wealth among the Wodabi nomads for over 10 years.
The word for cattle is jaudi, and jaudi means also richness. When someone have a lot of money, money will be jaudi too. They measure everything in cattle.
Dr. Sow is from the capital city of Niamey, but when she wants to study the nomads, she doesn't just go to the library.
We are on the way to Chinkabarada to visit what are the people.
The Wodabi nomads have no permanent homes, and before you can study them, you have to find them.